This week's media room live stream. As you can see, we're still taking on members in the Foundry, which is a joint project that I'm working on with 531 Labs. I am the machine, I'm the message, he's the machine, and we teach you how to run your own marketing. If you're a small business owner, if you're looking to open up your own business, we tell you how to pretty much DIY your marketing. And so if you're interested in that, you can click the link and join the Foundry. Really love to have you. And so I have some takeaways and some things I want to share with you guys. I have a bias towards webcams when it comes to studio setups that are just sitting like talking head kind of stuff. I have a bias towards webcams now. And so I'm going to kind of explain what my thought process is for that. Mics, camera, and laptop and desk, and it's ready to rock and roll. And so I kind of want to give you guys what my experience with it was, and specifically why I put a webcam in that studio instead of a mirrorless camera. Uh, and the decision is going to make some of you guys feel uncomfortable. I'll be honest with you, because it flies in the face of what a lot of these content creators are doing. Because a lot of times, and I think you guys got to understand this, when we look at YouTube and look how the YouTube stuff works and how it's set up and everything. The thing we need to be cognizant of is this: a lot of the stuff you see on YouTube when it comes to cameras and whatnot, that that content, that stuff is really that's they're marketing to you, is what I'm saying. They're marketing that gear to you. They're selling that gear to you. They may have some kind of kickback or they may have some kind of affiliate link, which is cool. That's how you make money on YouTube, y'all. I'm not knocking it. But, for a lot of people that are just starting out in the content game, a mirrorless camera is probably a little bit bridge too far for a lot of people when it comes to getting started. Just because even the simplest mirrorless cameras that are geared towards content creation, I'm thinking like, some of the Sonys, some of the entry model Sonys and stuff, even those have a learning curve to them. There are aspects of it that you can't necessarily just plug and play. Okay. You can plug them directly into your computer, yes, but you're not going to get the results you're looking for in a lot of cases. Now, I have used my Osmo Pocket 3 as a webcam because it has a better frame rate and it looks better. Um, and so that's the exception I'll make. But a lot of times the ones that plug directly into the computer, they may not give you the best webcam features, and sometimes capture cards fail. And so there's a lot of other nuances to that. So that's why I'm recommending webcams. Hey, how's it going? So that's what we're talking about today. Okay. And so that's why for this professional build out that I did recommend. I think I did an Insta360 Link 2, which is kind of a pan tilt zoom webcam, which can track your face, kind of like an Osmo Pocket on a gimbal. So that's what it is. Okay. So what the client had before. Client before I came in, they had a vision of what they wanted from a media room. Okay. But what they did add was a blank room that they needed to do some construction on in order to make it the way that they wanted it to be for their agents to go down and record stuff. And so they had to go move pipes around and a couple of other things and do a little bit of demo work on it. And so what I came into was a blank room down in the basement, right adjacent to their conference room. And it had a throw rug in there, and the throw rug was by my recommendation because I figured, I said, we're gonna need something to absorb sound in here, and a rug kind of helps that, and then we can get some sound paneling or whatnot. Good, I subbed. Thank you, thank you. So, yeah, stay tuned if you guys wanna learn a little bit more about this because I just did a professional install of, a video room for a real estate agency, and I'm kind of walking through my thought process on how I did this. So I went in there as a blank room and everything, and we just had an idea. And so first thing I did was an audit. I audited all of their social media presence and came up with an entire, basically where their opportunities were, where the gaps were, what social media platforms to lean into and invest time into, and which ones to abandon and run away from screaming. And this is spoiler alert, I guess. As long as I've had a marketing agency, the one platform I've never recommended my clients post content on or build out a content engine on is gonna be X, Twitter, whatever you wanna call it. I don't steer my clients toward there's a very narrow group of clients that I would recommend towards Twitter. More times than not, if you're running a business, I would stay away from it. It's too volatile. People on there are looking for a fight every time you post something, and it's just not a good way to grow your business, especially if you are in the business of doing business. Twitter is where people go to front, go to posture, and go to moralize at people. Um, and you can be anonymous and all the other stuff. It's just not a good place if you're serious about if you're doing any kind of service-based business or serious business with people. There's no need to be on Twitter, and so we instantly knock Twitter out of out of consideration for a content channel. Now, if you're a comedian, if you're a writer or something, Twitter could work, you know, but more times than not, there are better options for you to invest your time and money into that you're going to get a better ROI. And I'm telling you from experience, because I've put money on behalf of a client, I've put money into ads on Twitter, and the result was dismal. And Facebook destroyed it so bad it wasn't even funny in terms of ROI, in terms of what business we actually got. And so anyway, that's really what that is, and that's just, that's 15 years in the game and running hundreds of thousands of dollars of ads and things along those lines. Um, Twitter is just not the investment that one needs. Okay, so I come in, I think it'll be last Tuesday. I walk in, and I kind of laid eyes on, and I knew what I was getting into, but I had to put together a motorized sitting standing desk that didn't really follow the instructions. I had to drill some holes and do a couple of other things that I wasn't anticipating on doing. The chair, up the and setting up the entire rig. So all the mic arms, tripods, all the stuff that the camera was sitting on, and plus setting up my lights. I have one light that was up here to kind of shine down so they can pick and choose how much depth they wanted to add to their the video and stuff. Like I went and did the whole setup for them. Okay. And I wanted it to be as simple as possible. And so that's really the way I designed that studio. And that leads into why I chose the webcam as opposed to going with some kind of mirrorless camera with a capture card attached. Because even now, the cheap mirrorless cameras, you can get into a pretty cheap mirrorless camera that will work with a capture card for anywhere to 300, 300 to 400 bucks. And that is dirt cheap for a dedicated camera. And that's the problem. 300 to 400 bucks is dirt cheap for a dedicated camera. That is blowing the budget up for a lot of people, especially in an era where you can literally plug your smartphone in to your computer and use that as a webcam. Once you start playing the camera game, and I've been telling people this, once you start playing the camera game, it gets expensive real fast. There are the prosumer cameras that you see a lot of people talking of on YouTube about. Like, those are like, I think you can get like a Sony A7S III, and they're old. That's an older body. That body's been around for a couple of years. You can get an A7S III for like I could see I've seen some aftermarket for like 32, I've seen them brand new for 35. I've seen the price point go up and down just based on the availability of those cameras. But the ones I see them using now are like the Sony is it A7R and all the other stuff. You'll see them specifically in the NFL, they'll have those on gimbals and they'll be walking around with those when they need to go get shots in the end zone or whatnot after somebody catches a touchdown. They'll use one of those mirrorless cameras on a gimbal and capture that and then transmit the footage. They have a transmitter attached to it so it can transmit the footage. On Hollywood sets, those are considered disposable cameras. Like a Sony FX, which is their cinema line, which is one of their entry level cinema line cameras. Um, those are made, more from cinematic shooting or whatnot, even though they lack a lot of the features that a dedicated cinema camera does have, like the ability to change the shutter angle and all kinds of other stuff like that, that more expensive cameras have. Those cameras are like $3,500 for the body, um, and they're considered disposable. Those are the cameras that you can mount on a car and crash the car into a wall and capture the footage. Those are the cameras that are meant to be destroyed. It's $3,500. For me, a $3,500 camera, that's my workhorse. That's gonna be my main camera. But for them on those Hollywood shoots and whatnot, a $3,500 camera is disposable. And that's why I'm saying the camera game gets really expensive because the cameras that aren't disposable to them run anywhere between 20 and $60,000. Um, I've seen a couple of films that have used the, DJI 4D, which is DJI's cinema camera. And that's, that you can get that for like 10,000 bucks, and that's pretty cheap for a professional cinema camera. But then when you buy that, you still have to do storage, and the storage ain't cheap on those. Some of these cameras that have, and I mentioned this on a live stream last week, some of these cameras, they say you can shoot in 8K. Well, yeah, you can shoot in 8K, but you're going to need a CF Express card, I think type A to do that, and those CFX Express cards, they'll start at about 1,000 bucks, and you don't get much storage on it. You might get, 256 gigs on it, and that's it. And so when you shoot your 8K footage, you're shooting maybe about 10, 15 minutes of it, and then that camera, that card is done. You're gonna have to replace that card with another card, and you're gonna fill that one up too. And so it can really rack up. Some of these cinema cameras, a little bit older bodies, they actually, some of them have like hard drives that you can attach to them, and the hard drive storage is expensive too. Okay. And then you start getting into licensing things with different codecs and all kinds of, there's all kinds of other things that you need once you get invested into cinema camera world. And so I'm saying all that to say this: when you start playing the mirrorless camera game, it scales up to more professional grade cameras. It's not necessarily Max B. What's up, Mark? How you doing, man? Once you start playing that camera game, it gets really expensive really fast. And so I'd rather spend that money on an expensive webcam that can do 4K, that you can, if you wanted to do 60 FPS, you possibly could. You may not get the shallow depth of field that you're looking for, but a lot of you can digitally simulate it or whatnot, but it gives you a clean image. Some of them have their onboard mic kits so that you don't even need to mic yourself. It's a lot easier to get into. So I'd rather spend on an expensive-ish webcam than have you guys go out and run and grab a dedicated mirrorless if you're just doing sitting talking head videos. It's not a good use of money. Now, if you're doing videos where you actually have to move around and stuff, then we need to start looking at cameras that can facilitate that a little bit better. And even then, there are, action cams are pretty good. I'm into the DJI Osmo Pocket. Like I have all of them. This is the 2 right here. This was my little workhorse for a number of years. So I've got the 1, 2, and 3. And you can still find those used on the used market for pretty cheap if you need a camera to just walk around with. I got my DJI mic mini kit for like 79 bucks, and that's a full wireless mic solution, and it even comes with the transmitter so you can plug it into your phone or plug it into your laptop and stuff like that. So I'm about inexpensive solutions for this stuff that can deliver high quality stuff. Way off my outline, but Max B. And so that was really the intention of why I picked the webcam setup, because I needed something that somebody could just plug. So I could set a agent down in front of. They can push a button and record what they need to record without having to make it difficult on themselves. So if anybody out in there if you're doing any kind of recording right now, what kind of cameras are you using? What's your setup? Go ahead and share it in the comments and let me know. Okay. So the lighting situation. So with the lights, I'm using, I think, a Godox, and I think I have it like this. I'm using this. This one's this. Okay. Um, and I put a diffuser on it to kind of diffuse it and give me a better look. I like the way that it diffuses, like the way it plays with the shadows or whatnot. And I have another light over here that's supposed to be my hair light, but I have it bouncing off the wall just because I like the look a little bit better. Um, I'm saying all that to say this: cameras matter less than the lights that you use. And lighting actually solves a problem. It's not about the brightness, but it creates separation between you and your background. So it gives your image a little bit of depth. And it can make you look a little bit more professional, it can make you look dramatic. There's all kinds of other ways that playing with the lights can affect you. And it's actually more important than what camera you're shooting on. Okay. And so the lights I went with, and I wish I could put the product list up here, but I'm still doing the build out. And so I'll probably share my entire product list with you guys next week. I'll actually, you know what? I'll drop a link to it in my chat or in the comments if you guys are interested in it. But I did pick these Amram panel lights. They're nice lights, and they're not, they're not the professional lights, but they're made just for live stream, and that's really what you need. They're diffused. You can do, you could play around with the brightness on them and the hue and stuff like that. Really good lights, and it gives a decent look. You don't need professional quality lights because once you start getting the professional quality lights, you're getting the professional light stands and all other stuff. The only reason I have this stuff is because I do this to make money. I use this stuff to make money. And so that's why I have the more professional ones. If I could, if I was just setting up for me, I would go with the simple panel light from Amran, and I'll show you what it is. There it is. Yep, bicolor panel light. I got into this one. You can buy it at like at Walmart or Best Buy for, I think $90, but you can order them online for a lot cheaper. Like I got the ones we ordered were like $79 a piece and we got 2 of them, but I'll show you what it kinda looks like. And it's a dead simple thing. It plugs in, USB-C plugs right in, and you're ready to rock and roll with it. Simple lighting arrangement. So let me show you what this looks like. So this is the light kit I used. I bought, an arm for it to go onto that I can clamp onto the desk, and I got 2 of these. Dead simple, bicolor light, flicker free, it doesn't blind you even when you turn it up to max intensity, it doesn't blind you or anything, and I got 2 of them. So, you can kinda play around with overhead lights and then play around with the shadows or whatnot. But I wanted to keep the solution as simple as possible because once you start building out, once I have to start putting together, diffusers and hoods and all the other stuff, it ends up becoming more complex than it needs to be. So I just got a panel light that already had a diffuser on it. Okay. Let me see where I'm at. The one people the one mistake people do make when they're lighting themselves is they put the light behind the camera and that can make it a little bit flatter. You could put your lights right outside of your field of view right there and get a decent effect. Um, you know, or the other side is they will, because more times than not, if you want to get a good image of yourself, find a window, sit yourself in front of it. The window has light coming in, hitting you in the face. Put your camera right there. Boom, you got great lighting. That's what you need to do. But when you're dealing with artificial lighting, if you put your artificial light right behind the camera, you don't have any other lights to offset it, it's going to make you look flat. So, and yeah, wearing lights can give you a flat image, but a lit video is better than an unlit video at the end of the day. And here's the thing. I don't want you guys to get too caught up in the perfectionism trap. Sometimes good enough is good enough. There's a lot of people out there that have these huge YouTube followings, and their best performing videos are the ones that they're least happy with in terms of how it looks. And so I don't want you guys to obsess over those details about how the video looks or whatnot. I want you to just find a good enough light source and start shooting. Okay. Cheap lights can work and they work good enough to get you started. And then as this stuff starts making you money, whatever the thing is you're doing, if it starts making you money, then you use the money to invest in upgrades to your equipment. But you don't need to buy the top end equipment from the jump because more times than not, that more expensive equipment has a more expensive learning curve. It's a steeper learning curve. I digress. I'm going back to the camera thing. This is a Sony 6000. It will be a great entry level streamer mirrorless camera. Every dial, every switch on here, every button is a learning curve in and of itself. And until you're ready to start learning to master that learning curve, I think your time is best spent getting something that is simple and plug and play so you can get the repetition of recording down. And then you can start messing around and start figuring out what your equipment's going to be. Okay. So the cheap lights can work, cheap webcams can work. Okay. Cheap audio solutions can work. This mic is an Audio Technica. It's a USB and XLR mic. I can plug it right into my computer. Got it for $80. There are cheaper mics available out there. Go for it. Just get a mic. I mean, you could even do, a lav mic, one of those little wire lav mics that you clip onto a shirt or something and plugs right into your phone or computer and it's ready to rock and roll. All right. You don't need to overthink this stuff. All right. Start simple, scale up. Okay. So I'm gonna get into the real talk about mirrorless versus my webcam and why I chose to go with an expensive webcam as opposed to moderately cheap mirrorless camera. And this is the part people are gonna push back on. Okay. I put a webcam in that studio. I didn't put a Sony, didn't put any kind of Fuji. It was just a webcam. And the mirrorless conversation has really gotten out of control. Because mirrorless are, that used to be your entry level. I got pulled into the cult of mirrorless when they sold me this, like, yeah, you can get amazing images. I got amazing images off of this. You know what the other thing is? I got a 30-minute time limit. And I was not aware of why my camera kept turning off 30 minutes until I looked it up. Okay. Once I realized that, it became the bane of my existence really fast. And they have since changed that with dedicated video cameras, where these mirrorless cameras can be considered dedicated video cameras, and they removed that recording limit. But for a long time, for a lot of these older mirrorless bodies, there's a recording limit on there of 30 minutes. Now, if you're doing a live stream like I am, there is no real recording limit. You're limited by how much battery power you have. And if you put a dummy battery in, you can plug it in to the wall and it can run forever. But I got pulled into this mirrorless discussion and they hyped this camera up and it's a great camera. Like I will still use this, the 6,000. I will still use this occasionally for B-roll shots, but I can't really use it for any kind of recording on the camera just because it has a 30-minute time limit and the battery is not great. And I always have to have external power to it. This is the one I got, and this was my workhorse for a long time. I got this one used. This is a mirrorless camcorder. They don't sell these anymore. This has a replaceable lens on it as E-mount lens. I got this for like 500 bucks. This was my workhorse. You can take the lens off. I could switch it out. I could put a $3,000 lens on it and have amazing looking footage. Or I could put a $20 lens on it and have good looking footage. I don't have to worry about time limits with the camcorder. And it was kind of a best of both worlds kind of situation because the way it's set up, I can, play around, do zoom and all the other stuff, but also get depth of field on it. Decent little camcorder. I think this was a Sony, was it? Hey, I can't even remember what this was. I'll put it in the links, but this is a decent little camcorder. A lot of good work is getting done on camcorders, y'all. Like, you don't have to have professional setouts. When you see these people, like when you see MKBHD and Mr. Beast and all them, I think MKB last time he said he had a red camera that was like a $80,000 red camera. You don't need no $80,000 red camera, all right? So mirrorless conversations got on hand. Mirrorless image quality is better. Shallow depth of field looks the best. Um, and if you're producing cinematic content, it makes a lot of sense to go with the mirrorless setup. If you're looking at, if you want to off the rip produce stuff that has super high production value, yeah, then a mirrorless can work for your live streaming setup or your recording setup. I really don't care about that stuff. I just want to get people recording, and I know that right now on the internet, lo-fi content, self-generated content, or UGC, stuff that looks like it was shot by a regular person outperforms commercials. It's outperforming these professionally shot commercials by a wide margin. You know, we're talking about 40% click-through rate compared to, more cinematic and professional looking content. So stuff that looks self-shot is gonna outperform stuff that looks like a whole team was invested in creating it, a whole production team. So take that for as business owner, take that how you want it, but it doesn't have to be that level of complex, okay? But I chose a webcam because the client isn't a camera operator, and the people that are gonna be operating the camera aren't camera operators, and so I didn't want to have a complex setup where I have to teach them all the different bells and whistles on the mirrorless body. A webcam, you just turn on the computer and start talking. Okay. So mirrorless camera, you have to manage focus, you got to worry about battery, you got to worry about exposure, got to pick the right capture card. There's a lot of other things that go into a webcam. Plug the damn thing in, it works, it keeps on working until, one day it decides to go up to the little webcam heaven and fry itself, but you don't have to worry about that. These webcams are kind of built to last. So that's why I decided with this specific install with the webcam. All right. I'm an audio man. My setup. Canon 600D, ever media capture card for basic HD streaming at 30 FPS, and a cheap ring light I got from Facebook Marketplace. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Do y'all see what I'm talking about here? It's a simple setup. And so he is using I think the 60, is that a DSLR? I think that's, yeah. But he's using you know, a simple plug and play setup. Now, again, for my client, that would even be more complex and I would run with them. But you know how to work the equipment. And so when you know how to work the equipment, yeah, you can get aftermarket stuff, buy a capture card and be ready to rock and roll. I'm all about simple setups. Like I said, I shot so much professional work on this, like professional work that I got paid for, that this could pay for itself within a month. Okay. Dead simple. I'm not about expensive cameras. And I'm telling you guys, the media room is going to be my production studio. When you come into my studio, you're going to see small cameras everywhere. You know, the only camera that I want that's gonna be a big camera is probably gonna be a FX30, a Sony FX30, and that will be more for actual professional suit and tie button-up work. Audio quality is a different thing. Right, because audio is more important than your video. People will sit and watch bad bad-looking video. They will not watch a video with terrible audio. It will not happen. People will turn it off because more times than not, we're listening to the video as much as we're watching it, if not more. How many times have you been sitting around and you just put on a video for background noise or put on a video to listen to while you're doing something else? You're not necessarily watching the video, you're listening to it. And so if your audio is janky, people will turn you off in a heartbeat, right? And that's not just business. That's like all forms of content that go online. All forms of content. Your most important piece, the signature piece needs to be your audio. That's where you need to invest your time and energy into getting your best audio. Okay. And unfortunately, some of these cameras do have onboard mics. They're okay. But I would upgrade your lights and audio before you mess with anything else. So, yep, audio is important. It's more important than anything else. And a lot of these guys on YouTube, again, I love a camera. I love Potato Jet and all these other guys that do camera reviews, right? But I also understand that they're in the business of marketing these cameras. That's why Sony sends them a free whoop de woo whenever they need it. Whenever they're releasing a new camera, they send them a free version of the camera to test because it's marketing for them. And they'll put them on an embargo and say, yeah, you can do your review for this channel, but you can't release the review until this date. And that's how it goes. So they're marketing the cameras. I'm gonna tell you, like this little one right here, this is my Sony ZV-1. I've done professional work with the Sony ZV-1. This is a little tiny, tiny camera. It's a point and shoot. Okay. It's not really made. I don't even think I have it charged up. It's not, it's a little point and shoot camera, but it works. I've done paid work on this one. Okay. The webcam is the weapon of choice that I use for this install. And the one, if you want a recommendation, I tested it out before I got it, but Insta360 Link 2 was the camera. And it's a solid web camera. It has a great look on it. The one I'm using right now is an Elgato 4K with a black mist filter on it. I'm using a webcam myself. I have my more expensive camera up here. I don't know if you guys can see it there. You don't see the bottom of it. That's my Sony's A6500 with an adjustable filter on it. I chose this webcam. Like it's a lot simpler for my workflow. I'm recording straight into my computer. All my settings are on my computer and I can just edit, if I need to change the framing or change the contrast or change exposure and all that other stuff, all I got to do is pop open the app for it and clean it up. I don't need to do all that stuff. You're right. I had so many productions just because they invested in everything but visual and everything visual and camera operators. I had to teach them that you need an audio team and a visual team, and I had to be the audio team on my own. I got into that. I had to do a podcast, and the client I was working with, when I said podcast, they thought they were trying to do a talk show. And so I was planning on doing this podcast in their office, and they wanted to go out and do it at a local wine bar, and we went ahead and did it. And that was my first I did it 2 times. I did it that was one of my first and last times of doing a live shoot because not only was I running camera, I was running lights, and I was running sound all by myself. I said, "I will never do this again. Next time I'm hiring an audio guy." Because if anything, the camera work can be screwed up. The camera work can be jacked up. The audio cannot. And that audio was the single biggest point of pain that I had in in finishing out that podcast and that live shoot. I had to mic the crowd. I had to mic 3 people, actually 4 people who were talking, and it was a lot. I was doing a lot. And so I wasn't necessarily pleased with the audio. And I realized this is the most important part. The audio is hugely, hugely important. All the other stuff doesn't matter as much. But if you get a good light and a decent camera, you're good. Audio, that's where you want to focus your time and energy onto it. All right. So the reason why I chose the webcam is they're not the client is not a camera operator. Okay. Mirrorless as a webcam through a capture card fails at the worst moment. I've experienced this. I had a capture card literally fail on me during a live stream. It just said, nope, and just gave up the ghost. And it wasn't a complete failure. It was there was a driver issue on the computer and it wasn't liking the capture card anymore. And I had to go through and fix a bunch of other stuff. That's another point of failure. The more different ways you have to connect something, the more potential points of failure you introduce. So I got to plug with this. If I use the capture card setup, I got to plug in HDMI cord to this, plug the capture card into it, plug it into the computer. That's 3 or 4 different points of failure, as opposed to me plug the web camera into the computer, and that's it. There's 1 point of failure. So if something goes wrong, it's either the webcam or the port or uh, the cord, and I can replace any one of those. If something goes wrong with this, I have to reverse engineer. Like, well, is there a driver issue? Did the capture card die? Is my cable jacked up? Is it actually the camera that's messed up? There's so many other points of failure that I just went with one. I just went with the webcam for them. Okay, and it's a lower failure rate. If I'm having to move arms around that have my cameras and stuff on them, now we're introducing an opportunity for things to get broken and things along those lines. I don't want to do all that stuff. Okay. The image to quality gap is smaller than what people think. Okay. A 4K webcam plus good lighting beats a mirrorless camera with bad lighting. It's going to do it. It's going to do it 100 out of 100 times. Plus the setup has enough versatility. If they don't even wanna use the webcam, they can plug their phone into the computer and use that as webcam. Lighting does more for your image than the camera does, we've talked about that, and audio is the most important factor, okay? So, if I was alright, got another comment here. I found using the webcam on my MacBook Pro with a ring light is decent enough for basic things. I want to showing you that's what I'll do. Less junctions means less potential issues, right? That's how it is. And that's what this is me teaching business owners, man. Like, make it simple on yourself. You don't have to have these all expensive layouts and everything. This was my workhorse up until I upgraded. I had this little Elgato face cam. I got it for like $60 on Amazon, refurbished. And it held me down for a couple of years. And people couldn't tell. A lot of people thought I was shooting on an old mirrorless just because the gap is getting smaller between image quality, right? It doesn't make any sense to invest that level unless if you're just sitting in front of a camera talking. It doesn't make sense to do all that stuff. All right, where we at here? All right. Well, now, when I would choose a mirrorless camera instead, if I'm doing like a videographer, photographer, or channel where production value is the brand, then yeah, we're gonna go more mirrorless. We're gonna find a mirrorless solution for that. If somebody already owns the camera and they know how to use it, I'm not gonna force them to buy a new camera. I'm big about go with the camera that you have. But I could also, I can give you equipment lists and kits and stuff like that, but if you already have a camera, I'm all big about let's maximize what you have and see if that can meet your needs. And this is not like the webcam thing isn't like a universal recommendation, but it's pretty universal because, more times than not, if I'm talking to somebody who's never done it before, I'm gonna say use a webcam just so that you don't have to deal with all the other stuff. I wish somebody was there to tell me that when I first started because I jumped right into a mirrorless camera and immediately felt the crunch. Okay. The question to ask before buying any camera, will this camera and will this setup make me more likely to record or less likely to record? And I could almost guarantee you that the one that's going to make it more likely for you to record is going to be this setup that's the easiest for you to just plug and play and get started. Okay. If it feels like you're less likely to record because the setup is a pain in the butt and you have to do a bunch of adjusting on the front end, you're probably not going to build the habit of recording. Okay. And that to me, that's more important. You have to flex the muscle of recording. Okay. So that's my take. And that was kind of the philosophy I had walking into there. Okay. So the three takeaways are the best studio is the one that you actually use. That's the most important one. Fix the light and the audio first. That's number two. And if you're waiting to get the right gear, you're waiting for the wrong thing. The best gear is the gear that you already have and that you can use quickly. Okay. If you want to consult about this, go ahead and leave a chat. Hey, drop studio in the chat, and we can sit down and talk about what the service looks like. Because this is what I do, and this was an install I do. Next week I'll have my pictures and everything to kind of show you what my before and after look like. This week's assignment, before I get too far into it, because I need to provide you guys an assignment. Last week, I think it was we had your entire the week before we had you come up with 15 topics. That week, last week, I think we had you pick one and record it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Um, this week's assignment is kind of in line with getting your studio set up. Okay. And so I want to do a one room audit. I want you to walk in the room where you would record if you had hit record tomorrow and take three photos. I want you to take one photo of the wall or background behind where you would sit, one of your window situation. That means where your light's coming from, and one of the corner where you would set your light up if you had one. Okay. And then answer these three questions in writing. All right. One sentence each. And I'm reading off my script here. Um, what is the biggest problem with this space right now? That's number one. Number two, what is one thing you would change this week without spending any money? And then number three, if you had $100 to spend on this space, what would you buy first? Okay. Post your photos and answers to those questions in the comments or the community. I have a free community, I have a paid community. You can post it in either one, and that's gonna be the assignment for the week, okay? And I'll review every photo that you guys post and kinda leave you my take on it, and give you a little bit of feedback, and maybe I can help you get started with your own studio. And so, like I said, that's what the assignment is this week, guys. If you guys are interested in the build out or you wanna learn more, I will go ahead and drop the link for my registration website that I whipped up. Shout out to Manus, bro. Um, but I will drop the link for that so that you guys can kinda look and see what I'm offering. If you're interested, you know how to find me. I'm here every week. I do appreciate you. Thanks, Mark, for jumping in, bro. I appreciate you. I do this every week, man. So if you want to jump on in one of these days and we can sit there and talk shop about audio and all that other stuff, I'm down for it, man. Just hit me up in the chat. Let me know. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link. If you're interested to the link to the media room. So if you're interested in getting up with me, you can scan the QR code. I'm going to drop the link for to register in the chat. If you're interested with consulting, you want to start building your own space, you need a little bit of guidance to figure out how you're going to set up your recording studio, hit your boy up. Okay. If you like the content I'm posting here about the media room, like, give me a like or subscribe to the channel for more. All right. But yeah, guys, that's all I got. I do appreciate y'all's time. Thanks for tuning in. Get started recording. Don't wait. Make sure you do the assignment. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.